Good day, especially to Sir Jeff, and now we'll be discussing the chapter 9, Reporting and Evaluating Research. First one is learning objectives. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to define the purpose of research report and identify the types. Identify how to structure your research report. Identify good, sensitive, ethical, and scholarly writing practices. List criteria for evaluating a research report. So what is research report and what are the types? A research report is a document that explains the finding of a study or an investigation. It includes here the questions of the researcher that they wanted to answer and the data that they've collected, how it was analyzed, and what does it really mean. Okay, there are different types of research reports depending on the kind of the research that they've conducted. So here are the types of research report. First one is the dissertation of thesis, dissertation of the thesis proposal, journal articles, conference paper, conference papers proposal, and policy and school reports. So dissertation and thesis. Okay, dissertation and thesis are big research paper that the graduate students write it to get their master's or doctoral degrees. They can be quite long. It depends on the school rules. So okay, a master's degree is usually around 50, 70 to 100 pages long. While on the other hand, the doctoral dissertation can be anywhere like from 100, 200, over 400 plus pages long. Okay, and also the length of the length of the pages, it depends on the type of a research. So for example, qualitative studies, which focuses on opinions, perspective, and the viewpoints of the and different viewpoints, it tend to be longer because it includes here a lot of codes. While on the other hand, quantitative studies, it focuses on numbers and data. That's why it is quite shorter. So, the process of writing dissertation or thesis involves planning the studies and writing a proposal, and then presenting a proposal to the faculty committee. And then if the proposal is being approved, the students will now conduct the study. And then finally, the students defend their work in front of the committee. So if you're wondering what is proposal, proposal is like a plan for a research report. You make this plan before you actually start doing the research. You get it? You make this plan before you actually start doing the research. Okay? One big difference is that you write a proposal before you start a research. That's what I said earlier. You plan before you write, or you do the research. Another difference is that the final report includes results of your research and the ideas of your future researches. So the next step is to organize the format or the plan to be consistent with quantitative or qualitative research. Okay, as what I've said, you organize and set up this plan to match the type of research you are doing. This could be quantitative, which is more on numbers, or qualitative, that is based on opinion and experiences. So now we are here in the purpose of a proposal. Okay, to help an investigator think through all aspect of the study and anticipate a problem, a proposal will help the investigator to think about every part of the study and can predict any problem that you might have in your study, and then provide feedback to your provide written document to your teachers or faculty advisors that they can read and evaluate and can critique to improve your study. And then The research plan or proposal becomes a document to sell the study, a written narrative that must convince the faculty that your study or your research is important and valuable. Next, here in the a well-defined project. So, a good proposal makes it easier to get permission to your study in a certain place, like educational settings, like schools, like that. And then it gives important information to the people in charge so they can decide if your study will be good or bad for their places. Next one is a good proposal gives standards for judging if a project is good or not. People that who check your studies use these standards. They can see if your project has these important parts and if it achieves what it's supposed to be achieved. That's it. Now we're moving on to the quantitative and qualitative dissertation of thesis. So they have different formats. In quantitative, it usually has three main sections. We have the introduction, review of literature, and then the methods. The structure is more standardized, and then it is based on number and data. That is very common, we all know that. On the other hand, qualitative proposal, it is open and flexible because like what I've said earlier, it is based on opinion and viewpoints of the investigator. Okay, it is typically has two main sections. We have the introduction and the procedure. It is based on performance perspective, experiences. Okay, there are usually no separate section for the literature when it comes to qualitative proposal. The literature review is often combined with a discussion and discussion on expected outcomes. This is because qualitative research is more about understanding the problem from the participants' viewpoints. However, if your faculty asks you to complete a literature review, you should include it here also. You can mention that the literature review is tentative and will be not completed later based on what you've learned from the participant. The procedure section is in a qualitative proposal will includes the details about the qualitative research design and also information about sampling the data analysis. Well, if you already done the preliminary investigation, like a small interview or observation, you can now include it here. Okay, the preliminary studies help you to test if your research design really works before getting some approval from the committee. Okay, moving on, we have the journal article, which is the shorter research report. Okay, a journal article is a shorter research report that you send to a scholar publication for a publication. Here it how's it Here how's it work. The editor arrange for 2 to 3 viewers to provide comments on your studies, and then the reviewers will give feedback on your study. So okay, when we base on their comments, the editor decides whether your article is accepted or needs some revision, resubmission, or they might reject it possible. And then if they accept it, the editor will publish your article in the journal. Okay, take note, the journal articles are shorter than thesis or dissertation because journals have page limit. It is around forgot. It is just besides it is a short research report. However, in journal we also have qualitative journal articles. It is quite longer than quantitative because it includes more codes, details, discussion, and the description and the themes. Okay. And then the possible format of journals articles can vary from a journal to another. It depends on their guidelines and their preferences. So okay, again, journal article is a short research report. Next, we have the conference paper and proposal. So you're wondering what is conference paper? So a conference paper is like a research report that you present to people at the conference. These conferences are usually organized by the group of AERA or the American Association for Teachers Educators. Why do we make conference papers? So okay, developing and presenting a conference paper from a research study will help you to publicize the study and provides a research entry for your resume, and also it will helps you to advance the work for the author within the educational research community. And then you can also share knowledge with other researchers that that is interested in your topic. So the audience for the conference may be the practitioners, policymakers, and the researchers. Typically, the length of the conference paper is about the same as the journal. It is limit lang. It's about page is about 25 pages plus tables, figures, and appendices. Conference paper and proposal. Okay, a conference proposal is a brief proposal to be present at at the conference as well. It's usually about 3 pages only. Reviewers read this proposal to decide if they want your research to be presented at the conference. So after you finish your study, you send it to the proposal to the people to the after you send your proposal to the people organizing the conferences. They ask for this proposal naman for like a month ago. That is what we called call for proposal. If they like your proposal, then they accept it, and now you can present your study at the conference. So once your proposal is accepted, you can start making a full paper about the study. You present this paper at the conference, and they give copies to everyone. So at the conference, they group a few research papers together for each session. Say each author gets about 15 to 20 minutes to talk about the research, the study. Sometimes they also have symposia where a bunch of papers is about where a bunch of papers na the same topic gina-present nila at the same time. Okay? Report for policymakers or school personnel. So to create a research report for policymakers or personnel, that time is the most important thing. Ensure that the research topic is relevant and provide practical suggestion for practices. And then report specific results from your research. Don't forget about it. Present the result simply and very clear. Okay, so now include one page page executive summary at the beginning of your research report, and then obtain clearance from the key individuals to present your research. So getting permission from the individuals such as the school leaders, policymakers, the personnel in there will, to present your research and then. So share the executive summary with these individuals before presenting or presenting the research for them to be aware. So how should you structure your report? So structuring your report properly will make it easier for the readers or others to understand, even if the topic is complicated or complex. Here it is why, because a clear structure will help the readers to follow your ideas easily. They can just understand your research without getting confused. Okay, when your report is well structured, remember that it is easier to be read. Readers don't have to struggle to understand what you are trying to say or what you are trying to portray somehow. Think about the journal article earlier. It's not that it's not that difficult, right? Kasi maliit lang yung pages niya. It is just a short research report. That's why it is easy to understand. But it also depends on the readers. Okay, a well-structured report makes it easier for the readers to understand lagi. Your research helps them to engage with your idea. Like, hindi sila left behind while you are discussing your, like presenting your report. They will not get left behind kasi nga, um, nagigets nila yung idea mo. And that is how important to have a well-structured report. So proceeding here to the physical structure of research report. So being able to identify the underlying structure of a research report will help you to write a study as well as understand one. Okay? The first one is this is not always easy, but the following four are the techniques that might help you. First one is pay attention to the different levels of headings used in the study. Headings can act like road signs. They can indicate major points in the study. Like, makikita mo lang dyan. Even if some headings are better than others, examining them will help you to really understand the overall structure of a study. So the second one is looking for the 6 steps in the research process. So looking for the key steps in the research process are the research problem, literature review, purpose statement, and research questions or hypothesis, data collection, data analysis, and reporting format. Those are the 6. Whether it is qualitative or quantitative, it should be contained the 6 steps. Okay. Focus on research question or hypothesis. Here in number 2, look for the research question or hypothesis and the answer research provided. Start with the introductory passages, usually labeled as introduction. You will gonna be starting there. Learn and finally become familiar with different report structures. Getting familiar with different structures will really help you to, what do you call that? Will really help you to make your presentation good and smooth, especially those using quantitative and qualitative research method. Getting familiar with the structure will help your presentation clean and smooth as good. So I think the next reporter will be Miss La Pastora. Thank you.
So, good day everyone. I'm La Pastora Marie, and this is the continuation of our report. So, based on the given information, designing an appropriate quantitative structure is different from designing a qualitative one. In quantitative structure, the body of the paper comprises 5 major sections, namely introduction, review of the literature, methods, results, and discussion. In the first section, introduction, this is where the statement of the problem takes place. It is also where you will state the purpose of the study and provide questions that are related to the study. These questions should have an answer or have a comprehensive explanation of the end of the study. For the review of literature, it is where you will review the previous research, see how it is related to the study you are trying to propose. You will use it as a basis as the concept were already laid out. What you will do is to connect, combine, or contribute new ideas as to how the present study will strive or develop. Next is the method. So this is where the collection of data takes place. You will use methods like surveys to gather information, samples, and cite references related to the study. Also, there are certain things that you need to have access and ask permissions before proceeding. Next is the results. When you already gather the data, these data will be analyzed. You will do a thorough analysis to answer or address the questions and hypotheses presents about the study. Then the discussion. In discussion, there is the summary of the major results from the tallying of the data and testing the hypothesis. This is also where you will state the scope and limitations of the study. Focus on related subtopics only to avoid unnecessary information. While in qualitative structure, it seeks to. So there are alternative forms for writing qualitative research: the scientific approach, storytelling approach, thematic approach, descriptive approach, a theoretical approach, an experimental, alternative, or performance approach. Although qualitative reports vary from the traditional theory scientific approach to the more experimental, it is helpful to look at two broad structural approaches. Qualitative scientific structure. So it differs from a standard quantitative formats where there are procedures instead of methods and findings instead of results. So here are some examples. Recording what you have seen, heard, or encountered in detailed field notes. So in interviews, personally asking questions in one-on-one conversations. In focus groups, asking questions and generating discussion among a group of people. So while qualitative storytelling structure is a flexible approach to writing a qualitative report, the meaning of the study unfolds through description. The author's reflection of the meaning of the data, a larger understanding of the phenomenon, and a return to the author's story on topic. Basically, it focuses on interpreting narratives from a study group's personal stories using first-person narrative. Data is acquired and organized to allow the researcher to understand how the individuals experience something. So next is, how do you write in a sensitive, ethical, and scholarly way? In addition to understanding the structure of a study, researchers engage in a good writing practices when they compose a research report. First is use language that reduces bias. In academic writing, it is important to avoid using language that can be seen as bias. Bias happens when writers choose language that is either not specific or not sensitive to labels. Section 5 of the APA manual covers the many ways that bias can happen or appear in writing and how to avoid those. So, use third person point of view. Choose word carefully when making comparisons. Be specific when writing about people. Use people first language. Use gender neutral bases. Lastly, use inclusive or preferred personal pronouns. Next is encode scholarly terms in your research. Using scholarly terms on your research can indicate the level of your understanding of the study. The choice of words are essential in making the research comprehensive and interesting to read. Next is use ethical reporting and writing of research results. So strive for honesty in all scientific communications. So honestly report data, results, methods and procedures, and publication status. Do not fabricate, falsify, or misrepresent data. It is important to adhere to ethical principles in order to protect the dignity, rights, and welfare of research participants. Next is use an appropriate point of view. In academic writing, researchers often use the third person to refer to themselves. This is to maintain an objective and formal tone. Then, balance your research and content. Scholarly writing includes a balance between conveying knowledge about research and knowledge about the subject matter of the study. In researches should solely base on facts. However, they can contribute opinions and relate it to the facts they have provided to achieve a sound thought or concept. So interconnect sections for consistency. So another writing strategy used in research is to interconnect the sections of your research report so you can provide a consistent discussion to readers. So one way to establish this interconnection is by using key concepts as linking devices. Linking devices are words or phrases that tie together sections of a research report. So in quantitative report, stating the variables and using their exact name each time you mention them can help connect the parts. So another linking device in a quantitative study is to use the same research questions or hypotheses wherever they appear in the research report. So in qualitative study, state the same central phenomenon each time you introduce it. So you may introduce the phenomenon in the title, in the statement of the problem section, in the purpose statement, in the research questions, and in your findings. In both quantitative and qualitative projects, repeat the problem throughout the study. This binds the entire proposal or report together. Lastly, advance a concise title. The purpose of a title is to summarize the major idea of the paper in a concise and clear manner. The title should be no longer than 12 words in length and should avoid superfluous words such as a study of or an investigation of. It should be able to stand alone in clarifying and be self-explanatory. This means that all words should be clear to a reader without definition.
So now let's proceed to the how do you evaluate the quality of your research. So in the role of education research, one of the most crucial aspects is ensuring high quality. This means paying close attention to the quality of research both while conducting it and when it's finished. So why does this matter so much? Well, it's because we want our research to lead to better practices, inform policy discussions, and overall growth knowledge. So we often ask ourselves, what standards should we use to evaluate research? So this question is key in making sure that our research makes a real impact in improving teaching methods, shaping policies and advancing our understanding of education. So today we're going through the quantitative criteria used to evaluate quantitative research. So the first one is the research problem. So there are some questions that we must or we have to consider, such as is the research problem clearly stated in the study, or can readers easily understand what the research is about? Is it comprehensive and accurate, covering all relevant aspects? And importantly, does the study offer both theoretical insights and practical value? The next one is the literature review. So, is the literature review clear and well organized? Does it focus on recent studies that report numerical data? Are the citations and references accurate and reliable, providing credibility to the review? Next is the design. So, are the hypotheses and variables. So, what are the hypotheses of the study? And are they clearly defined? Does the study specify the types of hypotheses? Are all variables, including independent, dependent, intervening, moderator, and control variables, clearly identified? Were operational definitions provided for these variables, and were extraneous effects controlled to ensure the validity of the results? Next is the design. So was the study design clearly identified, specifying whether it was experimental, correlational, or observational? Were the measurement tools validated and reliable, ensuring accurate data collection? And were the statistical methods chosen appropriate for the research questions and data characteristics? The last one is the findings and discussions. So, do the findings directly address the research problem, or how significant are the findings in contributing to the research area? Or does the discussion align with the study's results and offer reasonable interpretations? And most importantly, does it provide practical implications or suggestions based on the results of or results for readers or stakeholders? So, evaluating research against these criteria helps ensure its quality, validity, and relevance. These criteria are fundamental in determining the impact and value of quantitative research studies and contributing to the research field and guiding future endeavors. So let us now proceed to the table 9.3, which lists the three standards or three sets of standards for evaluating the quality of quantitative research. So let's examine the three steps or the three sets of criteria for evaluating qualitative research developed by three authors within a 6 years time frame. So let us explore Lincoln's philosophical criteria in 1995. So standards set in the inquiry communities such as guidance for publication. So these are guidelines set within the research community, particularly concerning publication practices and ethical standards. Next is the positionality. The researcher's text should demonstrate honesty and authenticity regarding their own perspective and position within the research. This transparency is crucial for maintaining credibility. Next is the community. All research should be conducted with the community's interests and purposes in mind. So the research should address issues relevant to the community and contribute to its advancement. Next is the voice. Participants' voices should be heard and respected in the research process. They should not be silenced, disengaged, or marginalized, ensuring ensuring their perspectives are accurately represented. Next is critical subjectivity. So researchers must maintain heightened self-awareness throughout the research process. This self-awareness fosters personal growth and contributes to social transformation by recognizing biases and assumptions. Next is reciprocity. There should be a mutual exchange and reciprocity between the researchers and the participants. So this involves respecting each other's perspectives, contributions, and experiences. Next one is the sacredness of relationships. So researchers must respect and honor the relationship built during the research. Collaboration with participants should occur on equal terms, fostering trust and meaningful engagement. And the last one is sharing privileges. So researchers should share the reward or benefits with individuals whose lives or experiences are portrayed in the research. This ensures fairness and acknowledges the contribution of the participants. Next one is let's explore Creswell's procedural criteria. So, to sum up Creswell's procedural criteria, qualitative research is about collecting lots of different information from people over time. It's like telling a story where you listen or you listen to what everyone has to say and try to understand their point of view. You follow certain ways of doing things, like studying one thing in detail instead of many things at once. When you write about your research, you make it interesting and easy to understand, like telling a good story. You also make sure to check that everything you find is correct. Overall, it's about learning from people's experiences and sharing that knowledge in a clear and engaging way. Next one is um, the last one will be Richardson's participatory and advocacy criteria. So, offer Richardson's participatory and advocacy criteria offer a thoughtful and a thoughtful approach to evaluating qualitative research. They emphasize several key factors. First, they look at whether the research adds meaningful insights to our understanding of social life. This means the study should provide valuable new knowledge about society. Second, the criteria consider how well the research is presented. Is it engaging, artistically shaped, and does it invite readers to think and respond? Third, they encourage authors to reflect on how they came to write the research and if they showed enough self awareness in their work. This helps readers understand the author's perspective better. So, the criteria also ask if the research has an impact on readers. Does it make them feel something, think differently, or even take action? And lastly, they assess if the research effectively portrays real life experiences and feels authentic to readers. Overall, Rickardson's criteria provide a comprehensive way to assess qualitative research, looking at its contribution, presentation, reflexivity, impact, and authenticity. So evaluation will differ depending on whether the study is quantitative or qualitative. So the figures 9.6 and 9.7 provide criteria specifically related to the 6 steps of criteria are related to the 6 steps of research. So these lists enable you to assess the quality of your own study or evaluate the quality of research report. So in figure 9.6, when evaluating the process of a quantitative study, there is a comprehensive checklist to ensure thoroughness and accuracy, which we can see here in the next slide. So this checklist covers key areas such as the study's title, problem statement, review of the literature, purpose, hypothesis, and research questions, data collection, data analysis and results, and the writing. So, for instance, The title should clearly reflect the major variables and the type of comparison or relationship being studied. So the problem statements should identify an educational issue and demonstrate its significance. The review of the literature should end with a clear indication of how the study contributes to existing knowledge. So the purpose statement or hypothesis or research questions should be well defined and aligned with the variables and participants. So data collection method um, should be rigorous, using valid and reliable instruments and avoiding bias. So data analysis should match the research questions and hypothesis, and results should be presented clearly and with evidence. So the writing styles should be structured appropriately for a quantitative study with clear definitions of terms and consistent labeling of variables. So overall, this checklist ensures that a quantitative study is methodologically sound or logically structured and effectively communicated to its intended audience. So the next one is the figure 9.7. So in evaluating the process of a qualitative research or qualitative study, a thorough checklist covers critical aspects to ensure methodological rigor and clarity in reporting. So this checklist encompasses key areas such as the study's title, the problem statement, review of the literature, purpose and research questions, data collection, data analysis and findings, and the writing. So, for instance, the title should accurately reflect the central phenomenon and participants being studied. So, the problem statements should clearly articulate um, an educational issue and demonstrate its significance. The review of the literature should provide a comprehensive understanding of the research problem and its context, while the purpose statement and research questions should align with essential phenomena and study participants. Data collection methods should be well documented with evidence of access to participants and sites. Purposely sampling strategies and protocols for recording data. Data analysis should involve appropriate steps to derive themes or categories from the data, supported by evidence and verification. So, the findings should be presented persuasively and convincingly using appropriate literacy approaches and a personal point of view. So, overall, this checklist ensures that a quantitative study is methodologically robust, conceptually sound, and effectively communicated to its intended user. So, that's all about our report. Thank you for listening.